Hey guys, it's Reat here. Welcome to another video. So today we have a very special video. We are launching the first episode of How to Hall of Fame. This is a podcast that I'm doing with Maru. Maru is the guild and raid leader of Whirl, like I've been playing with in WoW. So basically, the goal behind this podcast is to document our journey from creating the guild from scratch back in January 2024 to hit cutting edge in season 1, The War Within, which is our goal, and eventually, hopefully, hitting the Hall of Fame, which means top 200 guilds in the world. We are going to publish one episode every 2 weeks, so in a bi-weekly basis. We are going to follow up with the guild's current progress, the challenges we are having, the problems or the issues we are facing and how we are solving them, like how we are organizing ourselves, bringing guests from the guild or from other guilds that are in the more or less same progress tier. Obviously, we want to hear you on the comments on Discord to basically bring up specific topics that you might be interested in. So I left you with the first episode. So we call the podcast How to Hall of Fame. The first episode is named We Have No Clue, basically because that's it. We have no idea on how to get to Hall of Fame. But basically the podcast is like a documentary, I will say, to how we are going to do this in the next few months / years, hopefully months and not years, but yeah. We'll see. I'm really excited for this project. I think I mean I don't know. I didn't check if anyone else did this in the past, but I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. We will be saying or telling the facts, the wins, like the things that went good, the things that went bad. I think Maru, you can explain better, like why we are doing this, the goal that we have, and a little bit of the background from Will the guild before introducing ourselves.
Yeah, sure, man. So I've had this idea for a while. I love running guilds, as you know, because I do it like 3 or 4 times since I've been playing WoW. And I think some of the best memories you have in the game aren't necessarily like pushing the buttons, but it's the people that you play with. And when you always think back to a certain expansion or a raid, you think about the people that you were playing with at the time. So I thought, like, we're going to put so much effort and so much time into trying to raid in the next tier in the War Within. Why don't we try and document it? And then maybe in 3, 4, 5 years, when maybe we're not playing the game anymore, maybe we will, I don't know, we can look back and we can go, oh yeah, that was cool. Or maybe I'll get in touch with that guy or something like that, because actually I haven't spoken with them for a bit. So I thought that would be really fun to do. And like you say, I don't think many people have had this take on a WoW content before. Most of what you get are guides and things from the real top end players where they're like telling you how to play the game and stuff. But that journey part I thought was really interesting about how do you start from, well, I can kill the boss on heroic. How the hell do I get to cutting edge? Or in this case, Hall of Fame, which would be unbelievable to get. But yeah, the goal is simple. How much work is it to go from a guild of brand new people that haven't done much together to get cutting edge and then to move on to Hall of Fame, so top 100 in the world? And if we could document all of that and update people with our progress throughout the tier, that would be amazing. We started the journey back in January 2024. I think you joined a little bit after, and that was
at the
Dragonflight.
Yeah, at the end of January or beginning of February, I think.
Yeah. So that's right. So Madrasil. And we didn't know what we were doing. It was sort of like, could we do this? Could we maybe do a bit of Mythic? Could we kill 4 of the bosses? That would be fun. And then I think we hit the ground running quite hard. We did 6 quite quickly with a group that hadn't really done much before. So it was sort of like, oh, light bulb moment. We could do this. Season 4, wasn't really the place to try and push hard because it's not a normal season in that sense. So the 3 season plan, if you like, was learn how to play the game in season 3, which we did, and we got all the way through to Thurak, ran out of time a bit because we didn't have enough time with the whole season. Season 4 has just been about playing and having fun, and we're working our way finishing those raids. And then, War Within season 1 is the big one. Can we do it? Can we go from a guild that was just stepping into Mythic in season 3 of Dragonflight all the way through to a cutting edge and finish the boss before the tier ends next time? So really excited to do this with you. And I had this idea for a while. I had no idea how to do it though. And then magically you started doing this stuff and the stuff you make is amazing. So I thought, I play with the guy. So why don't I ask him? So that's how we're here. So yeah.
Now, I think we have to introduce ourselves. So,
Yeah.
Maru, if you want to start.
Oh, more talking. I like this. I get to talk about me a bit more. It's cool. Yeah. So my name's Maru. I find that weird saying that out loud because my real name's Louis. But hey, yeah. I've been playing the game since 2005. I'm 33. Like this has probably been one of the biggest hobbies of my life, and I put so much time and thought into it. It's a bit scary, really. I don't think I played all the way through. I think I stopped around Mr. Pandaria, and then like loads of people, I got pulled back in for Classic. And I played that a lot, like far too much than I should have because COVID happened. I did all the rank 14 grind and stuff, and it was sort of degenerate. And then I found my way back into retail with Shadowlands, and that was good for a bit, but Shadowlands wasn't great in the whole sense of it. But then Dragonflight was pretty damn good, and it sort of got its claws in. And I'm a bit stubborn, as people would probably say. People probably go a little bit further than that. So I don't like being part of a group. I like to sort of be in charge of it and like to kind of call the shots. I have a vision for it. So raid leading is my passion. I really, really do like it. I think the best part of the game, you don't really get it in many other games, is looking at a problem as a team of like 20 of you and then trying to figure out how to solve it. That's way more interesting to me than, how much is my character doing individually or whatever. So I really like that bit. But yeah, that's me. I'm just an obsessed WoW fan and probably will play this for many, many years. What about you, mate? I don't know that much about you beyond the fact that you are a sick healer.
So in my case, I think I have a very similar story in terms of how I started to play and like the breaks that I took on WoW. But yeah, basically, I started when I was, I think, 12, something like that. I think my oldest brother started to play like MMOs when basically MMOs was the thing. They were starting, like, I remember Guild Wars 2-1. I mean, all those games that launched on at the time. So I started play with him. But yeah, I was 12, and then I continued to play. And then when I grew up, basically I started to raid on Wrath of the Lich King. I really like it and was okay. I want to put more time and more effort. This when I started to like semi-hardcore raiding, something like that, with
nice.
the Spanish guilds. And I continued that journey until in the beginning of Warlords of Draenor. I was always playing in like the top 10 Spanish guilds. In Europe, I think it was like the top 15, something like that. And then Warlords of Draenor came. I didn't like too much the expansion, and I took like a very long break of like hardcore or semi-hardcore raiding until, yeah, more or less Shadowlands. I came back to the game in a more serious way, but it was at the end of the expansion. So yeah, when the Dragonflight came in, it was like, okay, I want to ride again. I really like the expansion. I really like how the game evolved from the days I did hardcore raiding back in Wrath and Cataclysm and Mists of Pandaria, to how the game is basically right now. I decided to, okay, I need to find a group. I need to trial and see how it fits with me right now. And then it's when Whirl appeared in the way, and here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah, I have to admit that I told you the other day. I thought that I think, okay, I will need to like trial with several different groups until I find the place. Luckily to me, it wasn't the case. So I think I found a place where most of us have like a like-minded mindset. And I think we all have like the same common goal. And I think it's super beautiful to have that shared mindset across the roster.
I totally agree. I've run a few guilds now, and the ones that didn't do so well was where that thing wasn't aligned, and there was a bunch of people, 4, 5, 6, 7 that wanted to do one thing. Maybe there was another 7 that wanted to do something else, and they are just constantly at odds with each other, and it just creates friction. But I think largely here, we've been really lucky that maybe, I don't know, 18, 19, 20 of the 22, 23 people you might keep around, like, have the same kind of goal and drive. So it just sort of works really naturally. You don't get too much friction with it. So yeah, totally agree with you. I mean, you've been playing for a long time then, similar to me. You've been there and done it. I didn't know you were Spanish, by the way, at all. It's a shock to hear.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was the second time that I was playing with non-Spanish guilds. But yeah, pretty much the raiding scene on the Spanish guilds is pretty much dead. There was at the beginning of Dragonflight, there was still some guilds doing Mythic raiding at the top level, but not anymore.
Do they have their own servers still?
Yeah. We have servers, but I mean the population compared to I don't know, Silver Moon or Caramel is, I mean, half of the of this server. So large community of WoW in Spain. It's just that no one is really taking the lead on building a Mythic raiding guild to get to cutting edge or even Hall of Fame. So.
Maybe a tangent for another episode or whatever, but like, just thinking about it out loud, I've never really considered that you have to do all of this stuff we do, but you do it in a second language. I suppose that's true for a lot of people that raid with an English speaking guild as well. Is that, how much of a challenge is that? Is that quite difficult?
Not really. I mean, probably a few years ago it could be, but I mean, especially for me, like in my job, like in my daily job, I always working in English. Because I mean, I work in a tech startups, so yeah, usually the common language we use is English, even if the company is from Spain. So yeah, I pretty much use. But yeah, for many of my friends that still play WoW, for them it's like, okay, I prefer to play with the Spanish people because it's more easier for them. Even though they know English and they can speak English. But
well, your English is great, and to be fair, most people in the guild speak great English. It's us Brits that are lacking with our bilingual skills. Bilingual skills. There you go. Sweet.
Okay, so let's move on. So to give everyone like a heads up and a teaser of how we plan the structure of the podcast, basically we have like 3 main points, which is the frequency. So for now, I think we will start doing it like bi-weekly, but I think that depending on, especially when the expansion releases, depending on the amount of progress we achieve and the amount of wins or lose we have to share, probably maybe we can do like weekly, but for now, it will be like something bi-weekly. 1 episode every 2 weeks, and then if we think there is enough content to do to increase the frequency, maybe we can go for a weekly basis. But yeah, for now,
I just had a thought that maybe, quite perversely, we'd get more engagement if it went really badly, like if we were stuck on a boss for like 2 months or something, and people would tune in just to hear like us getting more aggressively depressed. This would be like, yeah, we're still there. I don't know. Maybe that would be good.
So first thing we have to share, we just killed Sarkareth. I know it's not cutting edge, but what the fight! I hate that boss. I feel that Firak is easier than Sarkareth, to be honest, in terms of intensity. But yeah, I would say.
Yeah, it was. I think it's a great achievement. To kill any end Mythic boss is a great achievement when you haven't done that sort of stuff regularly. And I think we said in Guild as well, because we were like, pre-patches happened. It's a little bit easier now, and it's season 4. But so many guilds just didn't even get there because they just ran out of people, or people didn't want to play. And I think it's a testament to just sticking at it sometimes that we even got a chance to do it. And you still got to go in and kill the boss, right? We did it with 7 minutes left of our raid night. So no, it was great. And I think positivity and momentum is the kind of thing that makes a guild group stick together. So we'll be more prepared, I think, when we come up against harder challenges. So no, great fight. I sort of have a preference that these end bosses should be a little bit more like Sarkareth, where they're not necessarily 10, 12 minutes. They're more like 6.5, 7, but really crazy.
Yeah,
That's like way more.
fully focused. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I want to like reiterate one thing that you mentioned before continuing. Is that I think the greatest achievement from this, at least in my opinion, is that having 20 people sticking to the plan, even with a break in the middle, which usually breaks. I mean, it's like it happens the same with like regular jobs in the real life. When you have a break, people start to think, start to giving priority to other things. And it's true that even though we knew that we didn't have time to finish everything before the pre-patch, like everyone had the commitment to really stick to the plan, finish the season 4 even after the pre-patch, and then prepare for season 1 on the new expansion. So I think, like, to me, it's a big clap for the entire roster, because it's not easy to find that commitment at this level on WoW, to be honest.
No, yeah, I totally agree. I mean, just from a recruiting perspective, you can see how few people are still raiding and playing right now. Everyone you talk to is like, I'll come back and war then, I'll come back then. So what you've got is sort of what you have to then limp to the end with, a little bit like F1, like fill the car up with the fuel and like that's it. That's what you've got for the run. So as soon as we are drop below 20, we can't do it anymore. So we're really fortunate that people seem to be invested and want to keep coming. It's 20 people's time twice a week, 3 hours at a time. And sometimes it's unpleasant because you feel like you're wasting your time because you are just butting your head into a brick wall. So no, I love it. I love that people want to come. And I love that people feel invested enough to do it and with their effectively free time because they're all coming back from jobs and stuff Wednesday nights and Sunday nights before they go to work and stuff. So yeah, it's great. It's a good honor.
I agree. Okay, so topics we are going to discuss on the podcast. Basically, we will like follow up on like the raid progress or own progress. But also we will comment like the WoW news that probably affect the progress, not only our progress, but the progress of like the different guilds trying to get to Hall of Fame, Cutting Edge, or even guilds that only wants to clear Mythic, even though it's not Cutting Edge. So yeah, basically it's like a follow-up of how we are doing, what we are doing to get unstuck, because obviously there is a moment in the progress that you get stuck, you don't know what else to do because of many different reasons, that you have to review logs, you have to make changes, you have to, I mean, you will have changes in the roster too. So basically it's like as we said before at the beginning of this podcast, is documentary of how we are solving the problems along the way. Basically that will be the main topic of each episode, but with the goal of not like just showcasing our progress, but using our experience to inspire others and to help other people in the same position, or people that maybe they are thinking on the start Mythic raiding, and share our experience basically.
Yeah, and also it goes the other way. Maybe some amazing person will come into the chat and be like, "Hey, have you tried this on this boss?" And it will be like, and then I'll ignore that and I'll read it and then I'll pretend it's my own idea when we go to the next round.
That's a good point.
That's exactly how you should do it. But yeah, so I just don't think there's a lot of content out there for what we are, which is like a lower tier Mythic guild with aspirations, but you've got to start somewhere, and everything's right at the top end. And you watch Liquid and you watch Echo and you watch all these top guilds, and you're like, I want to do that, but what are the steps to get there? So that's hopefully what we'll do.
Yeah, I think the main different point is that guilds, I mean, obviously they do an amazing job. Echo, Liquid, I mean, the way they prepare, I mean, it's like amazing to me. But it's true that it's just for a few people in the world. So I think like showcasing like a more realistic experience of what you can expect, and how you can improve yourself, because at the end we are also improving over time and getting better at the game, getting better at understanding the classes, the how we can solve the problems we find along the way. And I think it's sharing that experience from someone that some people that started fresh like 6 months ago, 7 months ago, and then obviously we have this goal of getting to cutting edge. It's not a small achievement, and I know we are going to do it.
Yeah, it's not a small achievement if you've seen the bosses on beta, right? It's like, wow.
Correct. And the third and last point, from time to time, we will bring in some guests to the podcast. Sometime these guests will be coming from the guild itself, like other officers from Whirl, other guild members that want to participate to basically get like first-hand experience or first-hand commentary, like I don't know, the tanks from the guild, Anto, Helios, like sharing their experience, sharing, I don't know, a specific fight that we may encounter in the expansion. And obviously other people that maybe, I don't know, we know from outside the guild that they are also progressing with their guilds, and they want to participate, and obviously they are more than welcome too. So yeah, this will be more or less the main three pillars that we will build on this podcast. So hope you like.
Yeah. So that's going to be fun. I think getting people on from the guild and just asking them how they think it's going, and then just finding out more about them is cool, because then we'll just get to know them better, and that like collaboration will be there. So yeah, looking forward to it.
We have prepared a little bit of content that we are going to discuss right now, but the main point is how we are preparing how we are getting prepared for the new expansion, what we are doing, if we are still raiding. So yeah, I don't know if you want to start, Maru.
Yeah, sure. It's funny though, because me and you were talking about what to call the podcast, and we were like, we need a snappy name. Most podcasts have a bit of alliteration in them, so went back and forth. We were like, what about how to Hall of Fame? And we said it, and we were both like, yeah, that's the one. And then instantly, I'm thinking, I don't know the answer to that question. I also think we should just start with cutting edge, but it would be nice to get to Hall of Fame. So that's why we throw out to people. We literally do not have a clue. But yeah, so the guild, it's going well. Like you say, we killed Starve Breath last night. We have Farak left on our hit list, and then that will be a clean sweep of all the bosses in Dragonflight, which I'll think is a very good achievement. And I'll be proud that we got there, and proud that we kept the raid going all the way through the season when, let's be real, a lot of people have dropped off already, because that's fair enough. That's what happens in like an awakened season. So we're still going right now. I do think sometimes about the trade-off of making people raid each week, twice a week, versus burnout. We obviously had a bit of a summer break, so I went away and got married and stuff, and we had 2 weeks off. And I think that was good. I think that was good for people. I think if we'd have just gone all the way straight through, maybe some would have felt like, during summer it's warm, it's nice, I want to be outside. And you always have to be aware of that, because what you don't want is you don't want people to raid when they don't want to be raiding, because that just gets bad performance and they get resentment, and then they start not wanting to do it, and you lose a perfectly good player because they were doing something they didn't want to do. So part of the job is sometimes trying to take the pulse and the temperature of how people feel. So I feel really bad when we have maybe a bad raid night, like the other night where we didn't get Stark Breath and maybe we should have. I felt like, people are going to kind of walk away and go, right, what are we doing? So it's all about trying to keep that balance all the time. But I think we've been pretty good so far in season 4. And now we're on that crescendo, that momentum to try and get Farak down. And once we've done that, hopefully we can go back and farm some of those melts that people want as well, which will be good. So we've been working really, really hard to try and finish off the expansion. How do you feel it's gone? Have you enjoyed season 4, or are you starting to feel a bit?
Yeah. I mean, it's true that probably it was longer than it should have been. But I think this will change on the War Within. At least that's what they said. Blizzard said on BlizzCon, like they want to make expansions shorter. So yeah, probably if we have a season 4 on the War Within, hopefully they will be shorter. But at the same time, I think at this specific time it was like a nice way to set up everything on the guild, like finish off the content, even though it's not consolidate the roster, finish the recruitment just before the expansion. So yeah, I think it was an opportunity for us at least. So I'm really happy so far.
It's been good, and like you say, it's been a really good almost chance to take a breath and think about what we want to do in War Within.
Yeah.
So like the overall goal, if you had to have one goal, is to kill the last boss of Nurubaral Palace, or however you say it, on Mythic before that tier ends. So we get cutting edge. That's it. That is the singular goal of this guild for the next season that comes up. Everything we do, if we need to ask ourselves that question, does it get us closer to that goal? Because if it doesn't, we don't do it. But if it does, that's what we're looking at, and that's what we're trying to do. Can we get this group over the line? And prep for that, well, I guess you could say it started when we started raiding together, but really in earnest, it probably started, I don't know, March, April, when we were thinking about what we want the roster to look like and how we want to change the guild. Because so far we've not been particularly, I don't know what the word is, but particularly prescriptive on how we do things. We've not had a loot system. We've not really forced things. We've not really tracked things. We've just sort of done it by, we hope people turn up, etc. And it's been good. People have turned up and stuff. But if you want to take that step up and do things with a little bit more rigor and a little bit more science and try and optimize a little bit more, and that's always a balance, and we can talk about that in way more depth, I think. You need to put some of these things in place. So yeah, I mean, from your perspective, if with the other guilds you've been in the past, what type of systems or rules have they put in place to be able to do some of this high-end raiding?
Yeah, that's a really good question because I think especially Spanish guilds, they had like kind of different culture, starting with the raiding schedule. Like, well, it's with everything on live, but on Spain we do everything a bit later than the rest of Europe.
Yeah,
And that's I mean a real truth. So it's like, for example, we are finishing now. I mean, we are start on 7:30 Central European time on Whirl. So to give you an example, on Spain, usually every guild starts at around 10 p.m. So like
wow,
half an hour.
really?
Half an hour before we finish the raid, they are starting to raid until around 12:30 or 12, depending on the guild and obviously the people on the roster. But yeah, it's kind of different. Also, the days of raid is like super inefficient because usually when I was raiding, it's true that it was back in the Maze of Pandaria and Cataclysm and Wrath of the Lich King days where we didn't have Hall of Fame yet, but it was like 5 days awake, and that, I mean, that's I remember that now. And it's like, okay, I was raiding like 5 days. We were raiding like from Sunday to Thursday, like, and we only had the like Friday and Saturday like off. And right now we are just raiding 2 days. It's true that this also changed in the Spanish guilds, and it has become more efficient. But yeah, it's a bit different, and also with a lot of different rules. I remember in Cataclysm we still use like DKPs. I don't know if you have used this system in the past. We didn't have like a loot council or something like that. So yeah, we were using points and you were bidding for items. So yeah, but this was like very very back in the day, and it didn't rate anything from Warcraft Trainer onwards until now. So probably I'm missing some things that changed over time, but yeah, there are some specifics that is a bit different for the rest of Europe.
Yeah, now you mention it. Do you remember we had a paladin called Sistadin, and he was a great healer. He was Spanish, and he raided with the Spanish guild. And now you mention it, he had to leave the Wednesday raid or couldn't come all the time because around 10:15, like you say, he had to go and have a meeting to then start his raid. And I always blew my mind that he was, he's in European time. He's only, an hour or two ahead of the UK. And he was going to go and then do a nighttime raid. And I was thinking, my God, you got to get up the next morning and stuff. That's
it's very different to the rest of how the rest of Europe has their schedules, but not only in WoW, obviously it's on everything.
Do you do a siesta? Like, is that just a stereotype, or do you do that every day?
Like what they do what?
Like a siesta? Do you have a nap?
Oh, no. I mean, I don't have time. Like, literally, I'm working on the morning, and then I want to create content. So if I do siesta,
You work 2 jobs basically.
yeah. So no, it's not possible. And also, it's not. I mean, I'm I mean, pretty much everyone. I mean, not everyone, but most of the people in Spain like the siesta thing. But it's not made for me because I don't know how to sleep like half an hour or 1 hour. And also, if I do, it's like my mood is yeah. It's
I'm exactly the same. I love the idea of a nap, and then you have it, and you wake up, and you're like, I'm just gonna go back to bed, and then you try and go to bed later, and you're like wired. You're sitting there like, I was on sleep. So no, I'm with you, man.
yeah.
I mean, I'm not Spanish, so I should be able to siesta, but there you go.
Okay, so let's go into the details. Okay, so season 1, we explained the goal. We want to get to cutting edge, obviously, to be completely realistic. I mean, just for everyone who's listening or is watching this on YouTube, I mean, we try to be as objective as possible and also as realistic as possible. So we know that we won't get or we won't hit Hall of Fame on season 1 or even season 2. But that's the thing. We have that ambitious and we are going to push for it, and we are going to pursue that, and we are going to basically make the necessary changes along the way and solve the problems that we find to make it happen. So
exactly.
We already, I mean, Maru and some other people already started with the plan. We had like what Maru like drawn out like a plan of this season 3, get as far as possible. We killed Tindral before season 3 finished. That was like a huge achievement, to be honest. Then the next goal was, okay, let's finish everything, all the 3 raids on Awakening mode before the new expansion. And then, okay, this is the goal for season 1, which is let's get into cutting edge and kill the last boss of the raid before the next major patch. So probably we know it's gonna be after a few waves of nerfs or a few tuning of the boss. Probably 100% sure for that, but that's the goal. So going into more detail is how we are preparing for that, how and what we are doing to achieve that. And I think we're gonna start on like the most complex thing in everything life, which is managing people. So how do we are managing like the plan for people and for the entire roster once the expansion launch? What is like how we are organizing the different phases, groups, or how people will get up to be able to clean the content as fast as possible to get to the Mythic week with the maximum item level that we can get. So I think we can go deep into this. So Maru, I think.
So season 3 at Mirdrasil started in November the 14th, and we started raiding January 24th. We got to Tindral, we killed it. And then I think we had 3 raid nights on Farak, and we got it to like, I don't know, intermission, phase 2 or whatever. So we were probably, I don't know, 2 weeks, 2 resets, maybe 4 raids, maybe 5, 6, I don't know, short of killing it and getting cutting edge then. So you said about realism. And realism is that, well, okay, we've done that and had that experience. If we had that extra bit of time and that extra bit of consistency, I think we would have done it then. So why can't we try and apply that? So my first thought, and it comes to availability and stuff, is I need to create a place that people want to turn up to for 4, 5, 6 months and want to raid twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week. And we have that consistency. And if you have people continually turning up, if you have a full tier, and if we have the improvements, the increment improvements that we're trying to put in place, because we have got better since we started, I think we have a really realistic chance of killing the boss. So I wouldn't be doing this at all. I would not be wasting all my time doing this if I did not think it was realistic that we could do it. I absolutely think we can do it. It's going to be tough, and it'll probably be close, but I think we can do it. So in terms of availability, we changed a fair bit. I used to put a sign up, a little bit like if you ever played a classic raid like Molten Core or something, and you're like, go sign up, tell me if you can come. And mostly people would sign up. But you'd always get, I don't know, 16, 17, 18 signups. And those last 2 spots were always like, I've got holiday, I'm sick, my cat's exploded, I need to do this, I need to do that. And it was like, Christ, okay. So I always had to plug the gaps with that. And there'd always be 1 or 2 people the day of the raid or whatever that I need to fix. And that became a ball ache. And that also became a problem because when you got knee deep into something like Smolderon or Tindril or started for Rack, you'd learn the fight, you'd learn how you're doing it, you do your cooldowns, you do your assignments, and then a new person would come in and they'd have different cooldowns and different assignments. They'd never done it before. So you take 2 steps back. So that was like, okay, don't want to do that anymore. So the first change I tried to make for this season upcoming is we've moved to I'm going to presume you're available. You tell me if you're not ahead of time, then I can build the roster so we have consistency. And if you miss the start of a boss in terms of progress, you just sit that one out. The idea being, where possible this season, if I can get the same 20 people into each boss encounter for the entire progress, we should minimize the amount of waste we have when it comes to raid time. So in terms of that availability, what we're saying is we expect you to be available for most of the raids. Obviously, life happens. So one of the ideas one of the guildies gave us, Brunuts actually, was to say, why don't we have these channels in Discord for September, October, November, December, and people just post when they're away. So ahead of time, I know, so it's not a problem. And then that way I know I can pivot people in and stuff. So that's the first thing we're doing. And to support all of that, I figured, and again, we can talk about this in more depth, what's the size of the roster that I need? I think I need about 25 to 26 people to start the season. Individual people that are all competent, that can play the classes we need. That will probably dwindle. I imagine some people will drop off. Maybe we recruit more. But if I had 25, 26 people, I'm pretty confident I can field not just a raid, because it's gone beyond just putting warm bodies in to get 20 people up and running, but actually a decent raid, like a competitive raid, one that can kill the boss. So that's how I look at availability at the moment. Create a place that people want to come back to, have the trust that they're going to tell you when they can't, and give me enough warning so that I can then pivot and fill the gaps and stuff. So that's how I look at availability right
Okay,
now.
this is interesting. I know there is many people that play WoW, but usually, I mean, I did it myself. I'm going to do it in the new expansion, but usually, like releasing a new expansion and the launch of a new expansion in WoW is like a big milestone, and usually people invest a lot of their personal time into the game to basically support their guild's requirements, to play more time because they are getting they are enjoying the game at this time of the release. But translating this to how to manage the people's time on the raid, like, is it like mandatory that everyone on a Mythic raid roster takes time off? Because obviously everyone here has their jobs, their personal responsibilities outside the game. So what would you say? It's like super necessary that someone takes time off to be able to progress in a consistent way, or is something that is optional?
Oh, that's a great question. If I've got my like closed mindset on and very like negative mindset and cynical, I'm like, no, you can't take any time off. You've got to be here all the time. But that's when you get people that are there for not the right reasons, and they start making mistakes and they start not putting their effort in. And we've all had those raids where we end up slumped like this in the chair, right? Because it's not happening,
Yeah.
and we're just not playing well, and we're walking into stuff. Some of the best performances or the best raid nights we've had are when people have like been away for whatever reason or missed a couple, and they come in with a real something to prove, or they've missed it. They've missed the game, right? Imagine that, missing raiding. And then they come in and they absolutely smash it. So yeah, whilst I'm not going to sit here and say, please book month-long holidays, that would really mess with the roster and stuff, I do think it's important sometimes to have a break. Where that factors in for me, I'm always thinking I can't take a break. So I'm already talking to my wife about like, I'm not sure I can take many holidays during the season because actually what's going to happen with the raid and stuff. But I don't know, maybe I will at some point. We'll have like a week off or a night off or something. But yeah, I do think it's absolutely vital just to get some perspective sometimes and to recharge. Because if you're playing this game and you're not enjoying it, you're going to play terribly. It's as simple as that. I know all the jokes are, oh, no one enjoys it, but we do really. But like, if you really aren't enjoying it, it's not going well, you're getting frustrated. It's when you start smashing the mouse down and stuff, and you're not enjoying it, and you're watching the clock. I think that's like when you shouldn't be doing it. So yeah, take time off if you need it, but just be open about it. Like I've had a couple of raiders this season. I won't name names, but they come to me and they say, look, I am just not enjoying my class or spec right now. I'm just not. I will do the next raid I've signed up for, but can you find someone to fill in? It's like, oh yeah, perfect. What sucks is when 10 minutes before the raid, they're like, oh, I can't come. And you're like, well, no, you obviously could come, but you just chosen not to. So I just think that choosing to be upfront and honest about things is the way to go. But yeah, time off if you need it, definitely do it.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about our plan that probably will be the same plan that everyone reading Mythic will have. But basically, we are like preparing like 3 phases from the launch day. I mean, this is new for pretty much all the people reading Mythic, but we will have like around 3 weeks before the actual Mythic raiding starts and the M plus season really starts. So, and obviously from the early access is like almost 4 weeks, not the entire month, but yeah, pretty much 1 month. We'll have like 3 phases. One is obviously expansion launches. We're going to level up our mains, and we are going to also talk about the different class selection, alts, etc. But yeah, we will have phase 1, which is the release. We are going to level up. We're going to, finish the campaign, prepare our characters, etc., etc. And then, in terms of how we have to prepare for the raid and for progress, the goal is each week we'll have like, and we have been discussing this earlier today. It's like we'll have like a range of item level goals so that everyone has to meet. Like it's not like still like confirming this, but it's something that we are discussing. But basically we'll have like a goal, something that we can track or quantify to make sure that everyone is on track for the moment that the normal and heroic raid opens. That this is phase 2, and now we are going to talk about that now. And then phase 3, which is the important one, which is obviously Mythic Raid and M+.
Yeah. It's a hard one, isn't it? It's like, how much do you try and prepare? And I think we said earlier that we don't want to like overexpose people to too much information, because around this time of year before an expansion releases, there are so many, I don't know what you call them, diagrams, pictures, infograms saying, well, to be the most optimal, you need to do 17 dungeons. And if you do these 17 dungeons, you need to then kill 7 bosses, and then you need to go and do the super rares and all that stuff. You need to grind this rep and do that. And I think hindsight's, hindsight's 2020. So when you look back at Dragonflight, so many of us did it. We all did the good grind for the cape from Rathian and Sibelian's rep. Was it needed? Nah, he replaced it day 1 when Mythic Plus released. And then also, I think a load of us did those super rares for item level 385 or something. And was that worth it? Probably not, but we do it because FOMO and that feeling of falling behind is there. I think what's different this time is that they brought Heroic Week back. So you've got that natural step up from, say, look, I'm going to just do my leveling and do a few heroic dungeons to, okay, now do the lower levels of the raid, and then you build up to Mythic. So yeah, to go back to your point, I think the idea that I like is setting a rough item level for each week about where people should be. And then because we're now using WoW Audit, which has changed my life in terms of tracking the guild and stuff, I can just quickly go on and go, oh yeah, okay, everyone's doing that. Oh no, 2 people are behind. Why is that? Oh, okay, well, one's had holiday or one's been busy at work. Let's get them into some dungeon groups. Let's prioritize getting them some gear, because that's all we're trying to do with item levels. We're not trying to beat people over the head with it. We're just trying to make sure that we catch people up, because no one likes to be the guy that dies to the mechanic because they had 200,000 less health or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I think item levels are the way to go, like an item level for each week. So you've got week 1 leveling, week 2 leveling, and then dungeons leveled in 1 day, to be honest. And then I think you only get the heroic dungeons on those first 2 weeks.
Yeah, we have then we will enter like phase 2, which is week 2.
So that's September 11th. So September 11th is week 2. That's when the season starts, right? Yes, you get
normal raid and heroic raid and
Mythic Zeros.
Mythic Zero, And also basically the way I see it is like phase 1 is like gear up for per raid. So this is before any raid is open. So phase 2 is the raid is open, looking for raid, normal, heroic, and then mythic 0.
Yeah.
This will be pre-raid gear, and then with the goal of being to get the maximum item level for phase 3, which is the real progress of mythic raiding and
Have you heard what they're doing with the Mythic 0 item level? Like, they've changed it, right? So it's veteran gear now. It's not even champion gear.
Yeah, I think I don't remember right now the exact change that they made, to be honest, but I think like Mythic 0 is now the equivalent to what Mythic, I mean, a key level of 10 was before the changes to the system. So, but I don't remember what track of item level.
They've nerfed it. So I think that's so week 1 and week 2, nothing's happening. It's just leveling and heroic dungeons. Week 3, which is September 11th, the raid opens and the season starts. So you get Mythic 0, normal, heroic. But then Mythic 0 that week, it only drops veteran gear. And apparently delves are the new feature of this expansion for solo play and up to 5 people, where you just go in and it's sort of like I think I heard Growl describe it as a quest line underground.
Yeah, it's like a Torghast-alike version.
Yeah. But they drop higher gear than Mythic Zeros, but they're limited because you need keys, I think, that you pick up from doing various stuff, and you can only get a certain amount of keys per week to open the chests or whatever. So I think all of that about what's going to be more popular than Mythic Zeros or the Delves are up in the air. But we've got a plan for normal and heroic raids in terms of bringing people through it. We've got a plan for allocating tier sets and items that can be put through the catalyst so that they can get tier sets quick and set bonuses, and things like trinkets and things like special items. I mean, it's not particularly novel, but we'll be using a WoW audit, and we'll be using Sims, and we'll be using those things that are published saying what's the biggest increase for sets.
Let's get into this, especially for phase 2, where we will have normal and heroic raid. I think we started to discuss this, but I don't think we really think about this. But the point of like having splits, I mean, not the splits like Liquid or Echo, but I mean, most of the people on the raid, on the roster, will have like a main and then like a main alt. So we have like a variety of specs and different classes that we can play with in case of a specific boss, or I don't know, if one spec is super broken and it's much better for a specific boss, then we can come with it and have that kind of flexibility. So will it be and this is a question for you, because I think it's a good question, is like, are we plan to having 50-50 raids? So instead of going all 20 people or all the roster with the main raid, like a split, like 50 mains, 50 alts, and then try to gear up as much as possible?
I'd like to. I'd really, really like to. You have to factor in how hard the raid's going to be on normal. Like, is it just face roll if you've geared up the 2 weeks before? Because if so, yeah, why wouldn't you do that? Because everyone's geared up to 2 characters, and then you can just go in and you can do one raid and then another raid back to back. Brilliant. Maybe you can't do that on heroic for the later bosses, but maybe you could do it for the first 2 or 3, 4. I don't know. So I'd like to do that. That's a lot of organization, and we won't know really. I mean, you tested some bosses on beta, right? Did you do it on normal, or did you do it on just Mythic?
Yeah. I just did like 3 difficulties. I think it can be. I mean, I think we can do it, to be honest. Maybe the last 2 bosses on heroic, obviously, it will be a different thing. But until that point, I've seen the rest of the bosses we can do like 50 main, 50 alts, and then we can like be more efficient in terms of the gear we
get. And thinking out loud, maybe we just do like the first 4 bosses and we split the raid, and then we maximize loot then, and then if it's harder, we come back and we do it as a main raid group. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be tuned like or where we're going to be, but the plan is to set us up to be able to do that if we can, if that makes sense. So if we have everyone geared and level with ults, then we do have that option. The game is just better, I think, when you play more characters. I don't know. I think you can get quite bored if you just do one all the time, but like, I love playing 9, 7, 12 different characters or whatever. I'm not good at any of them, but like, it's fun. It's fun learning and stuff.
Yeah.
39 specs in the game. So, and it makes you a better player, because then if you're like main is a I don't know, a warrior, and then you suddenly start playing a mage, like you go, oh, I understand this mechanic from a completely different perspective. So I think that's just all good stuff to do. But yeah, I don't think we're going to have a problem with people playing the game in the first couple of weeks. I think we'll have a problem when it comes to like, because I think Mythic Plus is going to be like really tough to start with. I think it's going to be, from what it is based on beta, I think it's going to beat people over the head. I know they've made loads of changes to affixes and it might be fun. I think it'll be fun, but I think it's going to be really hard. So I'm interested to see how the people that don't like Mythic Plus as much and probably just do it for gear because they have to. How are they going to keep that up week 2 and week 3 and week 4 and stuff? That's the stuff that plays in my mind, like, because you've got to do it. It's like taking your medicine. You've got to do it. You've got to get your vaults unlocked. You've got to get crests. You've got to make sure you're maximizing that. And some people just don't enjoy Mythic Plus as much. So that always sits in my head. But I think we'll do a couple of clears in normal. Probably want to get the skip. And I think we'll keep doing heroic, obviously. And they've made the brilliant change that you get improved crests from the last 2 bosses. So on normal, when you kill the last 2, you'll get the crests for normal plus the crest for heroic. And when you kill the two last bosses on heroic, you'll get the heroic crest plus the mythic crest.
Yeah, that's a great change. Yeah.
And every time you kill a boss, you have a chance to generate extra loot for your warband. So in terms of gearing orbs, the whole system could be really, really slick, I think. So there's a lot of excitement for people that are going to put the effort into level multiple characters where they could just start benefiting from just playing the game and just killing raid bosses. So that kind of stuff really excites me as a raid leader because I'm thinking like we could have a fully set roster and I can go, we need a monk and we need a mage and we've got that. We've got a hunter over here and we need to do this, we need to do that, and we can just do it. Because there was a couple of fights in season 3, Dragonflight, and maybe a couple in season 4 where Dathia, for example, I wanted to swap 2 healers to damage and I wanted to put a tank over here and do this, and we just couldn't. And it was like, frustrating. But yeah, so now we do that. And luckily, well, everyone has said, yeah, I'm going to do it all. Whether or not they stick it out, we don't know. And whether or not the crest system changes, I don't know. But at the moment, people seem keen for it. But I don't know what I'm going to do yet as my main. I don't think I'll ever not play mage in a raid, but maybe a survival hunter if they say stupid broken, and I'll enjoy that. But you're doing a shaman, right?
Yeah. My alt it will be shaman. Probably also I will go with a third healer, which will be the paladin. But this is something that I had to learn because I'm the opposite to you in terms of like I really like didn't like to play many different characters. Like when I have the focus on one thing, it's like, okay, I want to be the best on this. But nowadays in WoW, that limits you a lot because how the classes work, the way they are designing. One season this class is broken, the next season is the fucking shit. And sorry for the words, but I mean it's the way it's working right now. So yeah, I came to the conclusion like, okay, you need to play more classes even though you only want to play healer, right? So and I started to do this expansion because before, okay, I mained a mage for so many years and then I changed to healer, but always with only one class, only one character, and it's like, okay, I have to be the best on this. And right now it's like, okay, I have to be the best on 3 different classes or 2 different classes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's funny. It makes the experience more dynamic because you have to learn, you have to know not only your main class, how it works, all the talents and all the different mechanics that you have at your disposal, the tools, the utility that the class have, but obviously you have to do the same for other 2, 3, 4 classes depending on how crazy you are. But I think it's funny and so far I'm enjoying it. But it's true that I try to, for example, the keybinds. It's like, okay,
yeah,
I have like different categories for the keybinds. So this is the damage buttons. This is just
this is the stun. Yeah, this is the.
This is the personal CDs. This is the right CD. So I have this is the categories, and then everything is mapped out the same way for all the characters. But
that's the only way you can do it. Yeah. I'm totally with you. I have the exact same keybinds for every character, and I, like you say, I try and put things in categories. This is the AoE stop. This is the big damage single target. This is the AoE bit. This is your kick. This is your dispel. This is your this, and you have to do it the same way. But you're really good with the UI, right? So I imagine all your healers have the same UI, the same thing, just different colors and stuff.
Yeah,
that makes it easier.
Yeah, it's everything the same except the colors, just for personal preference. But yeah, it's pretty much the same. So going back to the phases, we're talking about phase 2 and how we are going to organize it. So then September 19th, it's 19th, yeah.
18th or 19th, yeah, probably 19th for us. Right?
Okay. The real progress starts, which is obviously race to the wall first. Mythic raid opens, M plus also opens. So one thing that we didn't we mentioned before, but not now, is that from the first part of the progress for us, we will add like a third raid night on Whirl. Probably it won't last like the entire progress until we kill the last boss. But for the first 2 months, we're going to add this third day. Do you think this will have like a clear impact on our progress, and it will help to, obviously we will be able to invest more time, we'll be able to clean normal and heroic much faster. But how do you think this will have an impact in the long term in terms of helping us to get into the goal of killing the last boss on time?
Yeah, it's a great question. I didn't make that decision easily in terms of doing a third raid night, because I'm always conscious that I've got people's spare time already. I've got 6 hours a week, and I ask them to do more stuff outside the game. To do another raid night, and then also to like do one on Monday, which we're doing it. Some people just can't do that, even though we voted and it was the majority. So it's like, okay, fair enough. So instantly, you can't do anything massive on a Monday. Monday has to be for like extra stuff. But I think it's going to be big because we can do, at that point, we should have the end boss normal skips and stuff. We could go and get end boss normal trinkets, raid trinkets will probably be massive because there's no bullion system anymore and it won't drop in the vault because vault is rubbish and RNG's rubbish. So we can get the normal trinkets, or we can get normal tier sets, or we can gear up alts in there. And then we can do also heroic ones from Fully and Mythic. We can do heroic reclears, and we can get the heroic trinket versions of it as well. So I do think it'll be massive, and I do think it will help gearing, and it will help people just know the fights. I think that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned from doing 2 seasons now worth of this, is that it only starts to get better, and you only start to be a better raid group when everyone understands the fight. Sarkareth, right? We struggled with that to start with because I don't think people got it in terms of what was happening. So take the puddles in the first intermission, for example. I don't think people knew that they dropped one when they went down and then dropped one 4 seconds after, because why would you? It's like, it's chaotic. There's loads of shit going on. I'm yelling at stuff as well. And then there was a moment, and we always say this in every fight, there's a moment when the penny drops and you just go, oh, okay, yeah, I go out, I come back, I drop the portal, I come back, I go here. Oh, I'm going to bait the breath. Oh, I get it. Oh, I'm going to the Desolate Blossoms bait over here. I'll do that. And then as soon as everyone sort of understands why things are happening in the fight, not just doing it because I'm telling them to do it or doing it because it's muscle memory, everyone just starts to push easier into phase 2 or phase 3. And there was a moment with Sarkareth, it was probably at the end of last raid night or Wednesday or Sunday, sorry, where everything just went really swimmingly because we learned it all now. And then it was just about getting that last pull with the right RNG and stuff. So I think the extra raid night will just help people familiarize themselves with the fights more and know what the different boss mechanics are. I'm thinking about the egg boss in the new raid that I've seen, where like there's 3 different types of ads that spawn, and you have to go over there and break the vials and things and then kill the ads. And I think just doing that on a Monday and a Wednesday and a Sunday, people are going to understand it. And then that's just going to make, when you go to Mythic and add the extra mechanic on top of it, way more easy for people to do. So I'm excited for that reason. So yeah, I think it's going to be big doing it.
Nice. Okay, so to summarize, basically we will have like 3 phases from week 1 to week 2. We're going to level up, gear up, heroic, delves, etc. Week 2, heroic normal with the possibility of doing a split like 50-50 alts and mains. And then the phase 3, which obviously it's the progress. We are going to start Mythic raiding and obviously start hitting our heads into a stone wall, like all of things. And then with the hope on, and probably I'm sure that we will get it to finish the season before the next one. and therefore getting the cutting edge milestone. So to accomplish all of these, there are, I think, two main things that are very important that we briefly mentioned before. One is the recruitment, and the other is how the people in the roster, like how we are organizing the roster, like select the selection of different classes, different specs, and the obviously how people is choosing their different ads. So probably people will ask, okay, do we enforce people specific classes? Do we tell people what specs they have to play? Or obviously it's a completely free decision based on what they like to play, and obviously based on a pure personal preference.
Yeah, so that's a tough one. It always starts with them telling me what they want to play. I think a couple of instances where it's like, can you play this for us? One in particular, I'm thinking a guy called Marvin, who I'm sure will be a guest at some point. I want him to play Rogue because not many people want to play Rogue, and he's really good at it. So he's gonna do that for us. So there you go. But everyone else, it was sort of like, what do you want to play? And not everyone got their first pick because you can't have. Well, I say that, but they're really good at the moment. But you can't have 6 Death Knights. It's crazy. You start with an idea if you want one of every class. Obviously, you have to try and hit that to get every rate buff. And then you want to make sure that you have redundancy for that as well. So if your Shaman's away or if your Warlock's away. And then you just try and fill the gaps to make sure that you get a 7-7 split is what I'm trying to look for, which is 7 range, 7 melee, 4 healers, 2 tanks. And then I want to make sure that and I try and ask myself the question, right, if my tank gets COVID, who do I have swap him? If my priest, which is you, gets ill, what do I do? To make sure I have flex healers and flex DPS as well. So, and then when it comes to alts, again, I try to follow that rule. We are quite melee light, I find, in general. Everyone wants to play range. I don't know if that's a meta across the whole Mythic raiding universe, but most people just want to play range. I think melee scares people. And I think the raid looks really melee unfriendly again, so that's great. Can't wait for that. So melee is where I'm trying to push people. Again, then you want to try and mix it up a little bit. You want to try and run 2 paladins. You want to try and get all the buffs and all the different types of utilities. And there are so many good planning tools out there for it. Largely, I think we've hit on a good spread right now. Might be short of a monk. I don't know. Depends on what Brunux wants to do when it comes to his main and stuff. But then we've got Holby and stuff. And it's just about talking to people. So I have part of my job, I call it a job, lame, isn't it? But kind of it's like a job. Part of what I have to do is I talk to everyone quite often. How are you feeling? How's your spec playing? Do you want to do this? What are we looking at? And then they come and tell me, oh, I'm not enjoying this. Or could we swap that? Or could I do this? Or could I change my ult to do that? Oh, I'm liking the look of that. And it's just about trying to juggle it, recording it, and trying to be as equitable as possible. In your head as a raid leader, you have the idea of who your better players are, more capable, ones that can adapt quicker. So you try and say, right, let them figure out the harder stuff and actually keep the people that are still skilling up, I suppose, or still getting experience in Mythic raiding. Try and keep them in places where actually you know that they can just do a job. It's really hard to learn a new spec for Mythic raiding. We were just talking about that. And whilst I play a lot of classes, I only play one at a Mythic raid level. And even that, because I'm raid leading, I'm not sure I do brilliantly. Really tough. It's really tough to be able to press all your buttons, dodge all the mechanics, play really well, and think about what's coming as well. So I think anyone that can do that on one character is brilliant. Anyone that can do that on 2 characters, you're a good player. So that's what I'm hoping to get us to. Used to go back to like the beginning of when we started, people were struggling with like what way was left and what way was right and where to stack and stuff. And we've come so far now in terms of like that intuitiveness, I think, in terms of how to play mechanics. So I'm really proud of them for all of that. And I think we've got a good spread now of what the roster looks like. Recruitment's been slow in the last couple of weeks because no one's playing or looking for a guild right now. I think it's going to blow up in the war within. And that's careful about
That was like the last topic and regarding recruitment.
Yeah.
To be completely realistic, obviously now is a very bad time to recruit anyone, but obviously in our position, it's even I think more complicated because we have the ambition and we have the goal of getting to where many people want to be, but we are not there yet, right? So for all the people that you have recruited until now, like how 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 is that conversation? Because obviously there is a part that isn't player skill or kill progress or anything that you can prove like, hey, I did this. Is like a two-way conversation on, okay, we have this project, we have this goal, we are doing all of this to achieve that goal, but at the end of the day, the conclusion of that conversation is the player trusts you and trust the project, and obviously you also trust the player to believe in, and you trust the player that he's or she is believing on the project, right? So
Yeah.
usually, how is that conversation? How it
Yeah.
works?
Oof, it's different every time. And also, it's not just me. So it's like the other officers have been
Yeah,
great in helping and drive people as well. I literally wouldn't be able to do it without everyone helping out. We agree what we want in terms of people, and that can change daily. That's caused problems before, but it can, it just can change. And then you go out and try to look for it. Normally, I know within the first couple of exchanges on Discord if it's a good one or if it's a bad one, and you just get a sense. You get a sense if someone just wants to have a conversation, and that's all I want to start with. I just want to be like, "Hey, how are you? What do you want to do in the game? Do you want to raid? What do you want to do? Tell me about it." And if they are open and effusive and they want to talk a little bit more, great. If you get people that are like one word answer or take ages to reply or kind of put demands on you before you've even got anywhere near, it's not really going to work. Um, and then you get this weird breed as well that agree to do stuff and trial, and then they ghost you, and then that happens so many times. So many times we've had people lined up for a raid, and they'll just disappear forever, and it's like they're the nicest people in the world, but they just disappear. So no, in answer to your question, it's different every time, but I'm looking for I suppose a culture or an attitude that,
yeah,
that works, that I think, oh, I can get on with this person. And a patience as well, because it can't be immediate every time. Take the resto shaman that we trialed for the first time last night. He was waiting since before our summer break, so back at the start of July, I think, for a spot, and he just
yeah.
waited. And a spot opened, and I said, okay, do you want to come in for Sarkareth? It's thrown in at the deep end, mate. Sorry. And he smashed it, and it fit. And he was a good fit for us in terms of like he understood it and got stuck in and enjoyed it. So things like that happen by chance as well. Because it can't always be ideal. You can't always say, right, I want to look for a warlock, and then you find the warlock, and then you say, okay, well, I want you to try to play tomorrow night. Can you play tomorrow? It's like, no, I've got a holiday or whatever. So you have to almost be adaptable and flexible with it and wait for them to pick up. And sometimes if you find the right player, maybe they're not geared enough, and maybe you want to help them get geared, or maybe you want to put them in the raid when they're not quite ready. So a lot of thought goes into it, and a lot of almost gut feel decision making sometimes. But yeah, it's tough. Recruitment is the number one toughest thing, probably harder than
Yeah.
any boss that you actually fight. Because like if you get that wrong, your raid is just dead in the water.
Yeah,
We're lucky that most people are in a good spot, like
yeah,
attitude wise, I think.
especially because I think there is some kind of misconception in terms of like uh some people or I mean when I'm reading like comments on Reddit or whatever, it's like recruitment goes down to just the logs and
Yeah.
how good you are in terms of the numbers. And obviously it is important because you have to perform, but I have 2 points here. One, I mean, we are not Echo or Liquid, which obviously, I mean, you are doing like the world first pre-nerfs, like impossible bosses. You have to have that performance. That's mandatory. But I think it's much more important to have or to find that attitude and have that team player mindset, even though you are not the 99% in the logs, right? So I think
Yeah.
that's much more important because you can be really great player. You can be smashing the boss, but just to put an example from last night with Brunots, I at the bomb I died because we were basically all the socks on Sakura on P3, we were all dying. Because we were smashing the boss. But there was a master spell. And then Bruno said, okay, I have the master spell. So I use it, even though no one told him, because at that moment, probably no one remember that the monks also has like a master spell. So I think that is not on the logs. You can't see that on the logs.
What?
3,
Like bubble yourself or something?
1,
I did.
3,
No.
Okay, come up.
1.
Get out of the way. Work. Okay, get Lenario up now. Get him up now. Get him up now. Get him up now. Press the button.
1,
Bomb's coming. Lenario, pick up the bomb.
3, 2, 1.
If you've got it, go down. If you don't know what you're doing, just go stand in a swirly. Okay, get in the line of the start. Watch the swirlies.
Can you rest me? No.
Nope. 40 seconds to get Reat up.
There is no spell.
No master.
big boy buttons.
Okay, so just, I don't know what you're going to do here. Get ready to gate away.
3,
Oh, it's stalled.
3,
I can't see it.
2, 1.
Just get to the edge, get to the edge, get to the edge.
Oh, that's a great, yeah. Do you know what? That's a great example, mate, of like exactly what we're looking for. And logs aren't the be all and end all. I do ask for them, of course. You have to, and you have to check that they're not just, I don't know, AFK or paid for boosts. One of the things I will do with logs, though, take Tindril or take Smolder on, is I'll go and watch the replay on the log, and I'll just see positioning wise what they do. You can tell a lot immediately from that in terms of, are they doing the fight in the way that it should be done? And then you go and look at things like, when bigger mechanics happen, did they press defensives? If I can get a player that can do movement in terms of how it should, like a coordinated movement, and can press defensives, I'm almost halfway there in terms of giving them a trial, because that is I think that is such a part of WoW that like people don't talk about. Everyone watches the top players and loves what they do with on details and passes, and they are amazing and they're brilliant. Watch what you can't see like immediately, what they're doing with positioning and defensives, because that's where the skill comes in. That's what allows them to do the numbers that they do, is how clever and pre-thinking they are with things like defensives and movements. And if we could get more people thinking more about their movement and defensives, would fall over. Bosses would fall over, in my opinion. But that's how I see it. As someone that doesn't parse pink ever, but there you go.
Yeah. Okay. I think we can leave it here. Like I think 1 hour. Something like that. So I think it's really, really, really nice. So thank you, Maru. I think
Yeah, it was great chatting to you, mate.